Wonderful. Can you please give an introduction of yourself?
Hi, my name is Ilan Rubin. I'm a designer, product designer. I live in New York City for the past 40 years. My previous career was commercial photography. I worked in the field for 30, 40 years, shooting for magazines such as German Vogue, Japanese Vogue, GQ, New York Times, and a lot of advertising campaigns, etc.
So, can you talk about your work a bit more? For example, the evolution of it, like what things you focus on, the messages you convey, the styles you have.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk mostly about my design work, which is relatively new. I'm kind of a startup at 70. I started with product design about 5 years ago during COVID, actually. The photography industry has really changed in the past few years, and the commercial industry that I do does no longer exist the way it was, mostly because of technology, iPhones, AI now, print. So when I started, it was a super lucrative industry with amazing options. I used to have agents in Europe and fly to Europe to shoot, and there were all these great magazines that were super innovative and interesting to shoot for. I focused mostly on still life, but not only. And what happened in the past 10, 15 years is that it's gradually kind of, as the amount of images per day were growing, because of the iPhone, and it's kind of crazy when you think that there are, billions of new images every day. It kind of became hard to say wow to a photograph because everybody's a photographer now. Everybody has a camera, with a phone. Everybody's become a better photographer because when you do 1,000 selfies, you get good at it, at some point. So I live in the West Village, and it's kind of funny because there used to be the corner brownstone with beautiful kind of greenery on it, and actually Annie Leibovitz, the photographer, used to live there. And now there's like 1 or 2 or 3 wedding shoots, fashion shoots on that corner. And, it's kind of funny to see non-professionals or semi-professionals, say, okay, walk naturally, look towards the camera, and, it's all the stuff that we used to do as professionals. You don't really need us. And also what happened was that when we first, the industry in the early 2000s, etc., was like the 90s too. You worked a lot to get one image right, and that included production. I'm not saying that there isn't production today, but it's different than what we used to do. And so you worked, there was a pre-production, there was the production, there was the shoot, there was the post-shoot in terms of retouching, and some of my images were in Times Square, so it's kind of, big, huge images, so they have to be kind of perfect. And then a lot of magazines, and W Magazine, which was kind of huge in print. So the attention to detail, I feel, and to new and to innovation and perfection and craftsmanship was kind of super important at the time. And I just feel that with today's world, first of all, when you look at an iPhone, when you look at images, they're tiny. You don't need amazing retouching. You don't need, you do, but it's not really worth it. I understand that there are no budgets. And you don't do it for print because there's very little print magazines, or they don't, the print industry, meaning publishing, there are no budgets anymore. Condé Nast, which owns Vogue and GQ and Vanity Fair and all those, their budgets for shoots have gone down so dramatically. So it's not about the money, but it's about what you can do. And, if you want to do a good portrait and build a set or travel for it, right now it's just easier in the sense that you just, hire a local photographer in Rome to shoot something, and, you wouldn't fly somebody from here. So it's changed a lot, and in my opinion, it's just less fun, less money, less interesting. So that's why I pivoted to something new. Not that I don't like photography, and I love it. You see all the books. I have my archive here, working on a book. It's a continuous project, a photography book. I always did commercial work and my personal work. So this is, for example, one of my, I don't know if you see it in the frame, but it's called American Breakfast. It's actually my first still life picture.
What a name.
So yeah, so it's, 2 eggs, a potato, white toast, and So when I first came to the States, it was kind of like, wow, this is American Breakfast, So it's actually Irving Penn, which used to be my, I don't know if you know him, but an amazing photographer, very well known all over the world. He has a Italian still life. So I was very influenced at the very beginning of my career by Irving Penn, like everybody else. Everybody was influenced by him. So he has the Italian still life, and I have the American Breakfast. So I always did, all these years, projects that are non-commercial as well. And there you go. So then I started with, I have a house in Fire Island, 50 miles from New York City. There are no cars, no shopping and stuff, and we stayed there during the beginning of COVID, from March 2020 to June. So that's when I kind of pivoted from photography and I was looking to design, to product design. So I was looking for, a hook to hang my mask on. And I came up with this magnetic hook, simple hook. And then of course, COVID ended, and what stayed was this interest in magnets and the combination of the solid walnut and the powder-coated metal and the colors and the very functional but well-designed, kind of influenced by all my the history of painting. And Joseph Albers, like amazing colors. I like Francis Bacon's colors, combinations, and all these others. So, hopefully it kind of brushes off onto my designs. People have said that they're really interesting combinations of colors. And so right now, most of the products are magnetic. And with these 4 elements of magnets, solid walnut, powder-coated metal, and the colors. But there are other products like the Apple boxes. I don't know if you see them here, but and the Apple boxes that are over there are basically a staple in every photography studio. So I started actually with those because every studio has them, and you use them to stand on as a step stool, as a chair, as a table, and stuff like that. So the idea is to so we started selling the first 4 products about a year and a half ago. So that, beginning of 2025. And it's going really well, and it's been received really well. The idea is to go to Asia, to be able to sell in Asia and in Europe. And it's just, it's pretty much me. I have a team of freelancers that help me, of course, make it happen between the packaging and prototypes and whatnot. And we have a very nice collaboration in Shenzhen with this factory that makes them, all the magnetic item products. And the idea is to actually build a system that is somewhat like Lego, but because they're ideas for 20, 30 products, and basically you can take a shelf from one product and put it on the other, or on any metal surface that's magnetic. You can move the hooks in between, so there's an idea to have all these products that's interchangeable and kind of very playful and fun and also useful. And so it's kind of building a language, a style. And this, there are a lot of products with magnets, and there are a lot of products with wood, and there are a lot of products that are powder coated. I don't think there are any other paper towel holders, for example, that are magnetic. That most of the products and most of the paper towel holders are one color. So I combine a few colors, which I think makes it more interesting and more painterly in some way. So they're unique. They're not expensive. However, it's always a challenge beyond having a good product that's made well, the craftsmanship is well, that's received well. The main issue for artists or commercial artists or whatnot is always selling. So I need to sell. We're selling well, but I need to sell way more in order to actually make it, kind of profitable and everything. And so we're working on that. I spent the last 6 months working on digital marketing, from Klaviyo email to Shopify to meta advertising to all this stuff, which I hope to be able to hire other people to do and be involved with the creative part, but not the technical. But I now understand it. It's also very interesting. It reminds me of in 2004, I moved from film to digital, and so I have not shot film since 2004. And it's kind of the first few years of digital photography, professional digital photography, were very kind of interesting because it was kind of a revolution, and there was kind of the first cameras were very low in the megapixels, and then it kind of grew, and people did want. I embraced it because I thought it was a great creative opportunity using digital photography, and I feel that now the digital marketing is a little bit the same as the 2004 film to digital, in the way where AI and all these ways of advertising digitally are just changing every day, all the time. It's a little confusing and overwhelming. So I feel that it would probably settle at some point. So I'm busy with that, and we're putting an order to China right now. So that's it. I don't know.
You are a very modest person, saying it's very easy in the past and it's time has changed. But I mean, to be at that level of photography, you are so successful. So I just wonder, what do you think are the main factors that has driven you to such a high level?
Well, it's not necessarily only in photography. I think it's probably the same in any commercial art, any art. As I said, I see my daughter, working her way in the art world as a conceptual artist. And, it's always a combination of a lot of things. And, it's a combination of your talent, yes, your perseverance, timing, luck, it's all these, who you know. It does help. I think in today's world, I think it's easier for people that are very social media savvy. I think it's easier for them to reach out and to get somewhere. It used to be, I love, for example, the idea of having an agent. So I had 2 unknown agents, and then I met the third agent, which I was with for 22 years at Art Department. It was a famous agency. So I loved it that he did all the work, looking for work. I did the portfolios, I talked to him, but I said, I want to shoot for W, I want to shoot for GQ. And then he had all the connections. So I love that. It's like having a gallery as an artist, or
Yeah.
So it has to do. I think that today it still works like that in some way, but agencies no longer exist. Photography agencies, they exist, but only remotely. Very few have actual offices, and I think that their power has gone down because yes, if they have connections, personal connections, they can use those, but I think that social media and stuff is as powerful. So, it's always people that and how much you want what you want. I mean, it's because nobody has it easy. I mean,
Yeah.
And I used to tell, because I had scores of assistants that afterwards did really well in the photography business, and I always gave them the metaphor of a rocket, that when you start, you have to, it's like boosting a rocket. You just have to give it your all. I mean, all your energy, all your time, all your money. Don't think too much. Just do it. And the reason is you just have to get it going. And to get it going, New York's a very competitive place, but that's why there's such good people here, because everybody comes, to be successful here. But everybody wants the same thing in your, whether you're painters or photographers or whatnot. So. You do, the beginning is really, really important, that it has to be your purpose, that my purpose is to be, so I came to New York with 2 dreams. I fulfilled one, and one, maybe one day, is I wanted to shoot for Vogue, which I did, and I wanted to show at the MoMA. So those are really big dreams, but then, you have to go back and just start and do step by step by step. And, And I think it's timing. I have an assistant that named Ryan. I think he's 35 now, and I've known him for over 10 years. And super talented, capable, and stuff. I said to Ryan, you were just born too late. I mean, it's just the industry is, the way we knew it doesn't exist. So, I actually think that he has to do something else, that he shouldn't be.
Yeah.
So, it's to cut it down to the basics is you come with something, a talent or something you want to say or something you have to offer, and then you work on your craftsmanship, you work on meeting people, you have to have some ambition because it's different. This world is whatever you choose. If you aim high, there's a lot of competition and stuff like that. You have to do your thing and not give up. And I mean, it's all cliches, but it's true. You can get lucky or not, but luck is and timing too. I mean, if you read what's his name? I'll remember the name. Of the author that wrote about the 10,000 hours theory. So he talked about, the Beatles, and all these people, that basically the Beatles played in Hamburg in Germany before they became famous, in this club for months. And that's where they kind of bonded together. That's where they wrote all their songs, wrote a lot of their songs. And by the time that period ended of a few months of bonding and practicing and getting better, they were ready, so that's an important step too. So anyway.
Interesting. So, there's a lot of drastic change nowadays.
Malcolm McDowell, I think his name is, the author. Anyway.
Okay. So yes, there is a lot of drastic changes as technology develops. So everyone has a camera right now, and we can all film or photograph like the similar ways that old photography artists do. So do you think there is a shift in like trend or style that modern photographers aim to go to? Like, for example, I've spoken to a lot of photographers now try to capture like the raw and natureness of photos. So like they don't really edit it, they don't try to do the compositions. And I just wanted to hear your thoughts.
You what?
I want to hear your thoughts.
Oh, I think that I'm sure the first thing and one thing is I'm sure that there are amazing, talented young people out there trying to do exactly what I try to do and whatnot, and more talented. And it's hard in the art world today, and because of technology and because of AI, they're so dominant and they're just kind of exploding that I think there used to be a way. When I started, there was a way and steps to go in order to do, and now, somebody like you, 17, 18, sitting with me because you knocked on the door, it's amazing. I don't know, I'm not saying that 20 years ago or 50 years ago, somebody wouldn't do it, but I think there's a legitimacy or a possibility. The possibility is higher now that it would happen. One of the reasons, because the whole hierarchy of it used to be that you finish school, you assist, there was kind of steps to do. Now,
it's a good thing.
What?
It's a good thing.
It could be a good thing, or it's whatever. It is what it is, kind of thing. You can't fight it. It's stuff. I feel that a lot of time people don't know. I think that whatever field you're in, it'd be good if you know the history and you know exactly, what happened. And I sometimes feel that a lot of the photography that I see is very derivative, meaning that it's kind of looks like something that I've seen before. But I also think that it's very hard to be super innovative and stuff like that. So you do AI, and what you're describing of somebody wanting to do supernatural stuff is yes, but it still has to be amazing, good. And, if you look at Diane Arbus or, there's all these great photographers of the past that did portraits or Avedon for that matter, there's something in his portraits that has nothing to do with anything. It's just that you look at the portraits, 30, 40 years after it was taken and it still mesmerizes you. I mean, that's like looking at the Mona Lisa or whatnot. And, that's basically, you want that. I mean, it could be, I understand that people want to go, some people will embrace AI and make it hopefully make it amazing. But just to do AI and say, oh, it looks like real, but there's nothing in it, it's like, okay, so technically it's like real, but who cares? Like, I want to see a good image that does something to me, that a move that teaches me something, so, I think it's really tough now. I think it's really tough. I mean, just to take pictures without any filters. And so, first of all the iPhones and stuff, they have so much built into them in terms of algorithms of changing and making it better.
Yeah.
That yes, I can, there's, you take film, and that Leica, for example, this came out, their camera company, this came out with their first film. It's a 50 ASA black and white, I believe. So it's kind of interesting because it's kind of retro. It's kind of like vinyl records or... So, that's good. But, I feel as an artist, whatever you do, it's not enough to just embrace a technology, whether it's simple or not simple, or AI or film, or it's kind of okay, so you chose that. Now what? Now what do you want to say? What do you want to... there has to be some purpose, some concept, some idea, it has to be, interesting for other people to see and stuff. And as I said, I think that specifically with images, I think it's really difficult today. There's so many images out there to actually, you're just so the bombardment of, I mean, it's, you take social media, you take Instagram, for example, and, the idea of scrolling, for example, endless scrolling. The nice thing about the magazines, part of it was, let's say a fashion magazine or art magazines, that, there was a cover and then you opened it and at some point you finish reading it. Yeah. And that's it. Yeah. And then you wait for next month or something. So this is kind of a continuous stream of more and more and more, never, and I'm not saying that you can do anything about it, but I think that part of it is that curating, is that, people choose for you. I mean, to curate, a specific, it's an architecture, design, so I get a lot of feeds on mine, which are really interesting. I can read something about Le Corbusier or whatever, because this comes to me. Anyway, to close this little conversation, I think, not that there isn't room for new photography and all that stuff, but what I see in magazines, and as I told you, I used to buy all of them, not all of them, but I have a big collection of magazines because I love them, and I look at magazines today and they still exist, and there are a lot of experimental ones and new ones that look nice. It's very hard, maybe because I'm out of it, but we used to look at a magazine and see what everybody's doing and then try and make it better and different, and there was kind of a progression of it, and I see some stuff that's nice and interesting, but I don't see a breakthrough, and I don't know of a breakthrough photographer, because there were always these photographers that were like, wow, just like one aspired to be like them or do, So I don't know, I'm a little out of it because I'm doing design now, but I think that being a photographer and stuff like that is a really challenging task today. And there's certain, as I said, I think in art it's the same, and I think architecture, design, they're all kind of dealing with the same stuff. Is, use technology, but still,
So my last question would be, so this thing about AI has kind of been around our conversation all the time, this entire interview. Yeah. And so I just want to hear your thoughts on AI and whether it would actually replace photography.
I think that I use AI, I create images on AI. I actually love it. As it was in some way, as I said, in 2004, there was a lot about Photoshop because it was digital and Photoshop started before. But so this was shot with an A10 camera. So the film is this big, it's kind of very, you can see everything, But AI, it's all about how you use technology to do what. So I think that there has to be a talent behind the image, and I see already when I do create new images for my products, I'll take let's say, a picture that I took of my paper towel holder. I'll put it in the prompt, and then I'll say, put on countertop in modern kitchen, and it does. And so then, but I think the biggest mistake about AI that I really don't like is that everybody sells it as fast and easy, and I don't think it's fast, and I don't think it's easy. Is it faster than is it faster than going and building a set of a kitchen with a window, or going to a location, finding a location? Yes, it's easier than that. But the truth of the matter is that with my eye and what I want to out of an image, you don't just prompt it once and, oh, it looks amazing, and that's it. You start prompting it again and again and again and again, and then you change.
Yeah.
And then I use Photoshop with the AI. So in that sense, do I think it's amazing? Yes, I think it's amazing. Will it get better and faster? And yes, but my feeling is about AI that, when I say modern kitchen, it takes all the information, 1 million kitchens, and generates something super average because it's the, average. So it's a little generic, the results. But is there a way to upgrade it and make it not generic and make it personal? Yeah, I mean, with Photoshop, or more and more prompting, or whatever it is. So I think it's a great tool. I think will it replace photography? I mean, yes and no. I mean, I think that it's a little bit. I don't know. I don't know, like, what's happening exactly, let's say, in the music industry, because I heard that, I don't know, music generated by AI is now like up in the charts and whatnot. But is it good music? Is it amazing? Is it new? Is it different? Is it fresh? And it's like, I don't know. So I'm yet to see, because I feel that right now where AI and photography are, and you can do amazing things, and it's kind of like, whoa, I don't believe this. I mean, so fast, but to do good work, like new, different, yeah, I don't know. I have not seen something, and I actually embraced in the past. I was the first one, I think, to do an fashion accessory story for Marie Claire. Probably 2015 or something, I don't know, something like that. And with iPhone pictures, with an iPhone. So it was taken with an iPhone. Maybe it was 2010, I don't know. When iPhones were still, they didn't have the resolution, and it was kind of not used by professionals. And so I've always had the interest of kind of experimenting and doing stuff like that. But, the world has its own pace, and it's like liquid, like water. It's just go. I don't know what the answers are, but you have to go with it, because, I remember photographers saying, I'm not using digital photography. Like, why? You're crazy. I mean, it's going to be there. I mean, like, so AI is going to be there. So it's just like, you might as well embrace it. Now, what I'm doing with the products, so I'm happy that I'm not in photography, in commercial photography, in the industry, because of everything that it's going through. I chose something that's actually super analog, and hopefully timeless in terms of the design and the use. Magnets are good for 100 years. They don't need recharging. It's just like, so I chose something very not technical because of my age, and I didn't want to deal with it. But I still think that, so Alex is actually the owner of the factory in Shenzhen. And I said, oh, when are robots taking over, like making my things and stuff? He said, oh, we're looking into it and blah, 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 blah. I mean, I'm sure it'll be there. It's just a matter of like, is it worth it for them to spend all the money and get, whatever. But so do I care if these are made? No. I mean, I don't care how they're made. If they look the same, and, these are recyclable, there's no plastic, these are important things for me. They're environmentally relatively friendly. So, yeah, I mean, depending on what field you're in, you have to embrace AI. And, it's just like you use it more or less, or you have to know what it's good for. I mean, I have friends that are lawyers and talk to them, So yes, you have to double check that the case that AI brings you is actually a real one, because there were a few fake ones, that AI invented a case that was never there, and then the judge said, this, or something, So, but does that mean that you don't use AI for, law, for research? Well, of course you do. I mean, it's just, no, there's no going back. And, and one of the things is that it's unfortunate, I think, about the law, legally, there have to be boundaries, so it's not endangers human beings in terms of whatever, war machines and whatever it is. That's one discussion. The reason it's going so fast is because all these tech companies are putting hundreds and hundreds of trillions of dollars, and they want a return, so it's moving really fast, and it'll move as fast as they're putting so much money in. That means that there's so much research, and they're advancing it so fast. I wish it, I think more people are going, looking for meditation and, a lot of Eastern philosophy, because it's just like, okay, slow is not bad, It's just like everything doesn't have, the fact that it's fast doesn't mean that it's good. It just means that it's fast. So, but I mean, there's AI is here to stay, and in photography, in every field, and you just have to think. I have a friend that the son of a friend of ours finished Brown University, studied environmental studies or whatnot, and it was funny. He got out of school. And people told him, I don't get too political, but because of the Trump administration, there's like no environmental money for anything. You better find another job. And, he completely switched, like out of school. I mean, that's crazy. Studied for 4 years.
That's pathetic.
It's pathetic, yeah. And it's just like, well, it changed back, but his life is, he's doing something else. It doesn't mean that he won't be successful or enjoy. But he studied one thing, and there's like zero, they told him, zero opportunities, because nobody's hiring, because there are no budgets, so some of it, I said, it's luck. Life is luck too, it's being at the right place at the right time. And, Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, in the Malcolm McDowell book, one of his books, he talks about it, that they came exactly at the right time in terms of technology, and they both left school and did their thing, and people that were 2 years before them or 2 years after them didn't succeed as they did, not just because of their talents and abilities, but also because the timing was perfectly right and aligned. So, and I feel that I was lucky with the photography. I still really enjoyed flying business class to Italy with 2 assistants and staying at the Four Seasons and doing all that. I mean, it was nice. No, but also there was, I'll tell you, it's not about the money, but I feel that people that's for sure, in the printing and publishing. So if you shoot for a magazine today, they're so worried. They're not taking chances. They used to just take chances. Well, yeah, we'll shoot whatever. I shot for The Gap like in the 90s, and they paid me so much money, and they just sent me stuff and said, do whatever you want. I mean, they saw my portfolio, and then either they used it or not. And that was so great. I mean, you get paid, you get to do what you want, you can be creative, it's fun, then you see it on buses. And so I think now it's tough, because magazines are having a hard time, print in general, and then it takes away from creativity and playing and fun. And so, I hope with my products, I do have, when I design, and I have all these toys here around, and that part of it I love. It's fun. It's